Welcome back, everyone, to the Section 305 Sports Show. We're doing things a bit different in this episode. I won't be able to join the guys this week, so I decided, hey, it'd be a fun one to do a filler episode given the latest news with the Miami Marlins. My name is Anthony Aguirre, joined by one of my brothers, not just in the industry, but in life. Fish on First, very own Jeremiah Geiger. How are we doing, my man?
Doing great, man. It's good to come on your show, and I'm excited for what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. I mean, we're only doing this a few hours before tonight's game against the Philadelphia Phillies. Obviously, it hasn't gone so well in the series, but part of that could change as it was reported last night that the Marlins have called up a top 100 prospect, Joe Mack, catcher, which funny enough, it means that Agustin Ramirez gets sent down to AAA, going to Jacksonville. Just what was your reactions when you first heard the news?
Yeah, it's funny because I was like sleeping. I was sleeping. I was taking a nap. I just passed out, and I wake up and I check my phone, and I have people texting me. I go to Twitter. Twitter's blowing up, and I'm like, wait, Agustin Ramirez has been optioned. Joe Mack is getting called up. And my initial reaction was just shock because not that Joe Mack doesn't deserve to be up. He does. And it wouldn't have shocked me if I had seen, oh, Joe Mack's getting the call. The fact that
Mhm.
they are optioning Agustin Ramirez did surprise me because I did not expect that from a guy who, I think it's fair to say heading into this season offensively was expected to be one of the building blocks for the Marlins. Now, the question was always his defense. His
Mhm.
defense was so bad last season. There was talk in the offseason, well, do you move him to first? Do you move him to be a full-time DH? And the Marlins organization was stubborn enough to say, no, we're going to continue working him in as catcher. And it just has continued to be a disaster. This season, he's costing this Marlins team chances to win with his defense. He's not a very good catcher at all. Joe Mack, on the other hand, is the best defensive catcher in minor league baseball. He's going to come up to the Marlins, and he's in the starting lineup tonight. I don't think the lineups have dropped yet at the time of this recording,
Mhm.
but hitting aside with Joe Mack, he's up there because he truly is an elite gold glove level defender, and he does have a lot of power. So I'm excited for the Joe Mack debut. He's a top 5 prospect. He's a homegrown prospect, former draft pick during the Derek Jeter era. So you don't see a lot of homegrown players from that time frame make it up. So I'm pumped, man.
Yeah, that was one of the unique aspects of this is because of course when you look at the roster itself, when you look at like Kyle Stowers or just Otto Lopez, like all these guys, they're from other organizations. So the fact that this is the first homegrown prospect in a while is going to be very interesting to see how long he can stick around. Although, given the defense, he might stick around most likely all throughout the season. And of course, hopefully Ramirez is doing all right. Obviously, he deleted his Instagram. Obviously, not taking the news probably too well, but just hopefully he can come back stronger. And I'm pretty confirm this for me just to make sure because he was optioned. It's not
Right.
like a DFA where he can get picked up by another team, correct?
Yeah, no, he's optioned. DFA would be something else. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
just optioned to the minors. They can call him back up. He's still, in the Marlins organization, and I expect him to be back up at some point this season. I'd be shocked if he's there for, an extended period of time, unless something really goes wrong down there.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, with Ramirez, we know you already touched on it. Just the defense itself was not where it needed to be last season, but the hitting definitely was. I mean, he finished sixth in the National League Rookie of the Year voting. Now, what made me, I guess you could say, not optimistic, but just give him a chance at the catcher position is just okay. There's always a massive talent gap between every league, between the majors and the minors. Same with the NBA and the G League, and same with the NFL and the Canadian Football League. There's always going to be a gap in talent. And so my thinking was, all right, he goes through his first full year in the majors. maybe he finally takes what he learns and applies it to the offseason and gets back better this year. Arguably, it was worse. It was worse to start the season. I mean, we're talking about a guy who, again, sometimes he just gets too ahead of himself, and next thing you know, he can't manage the game. He can't manage the pitchers too well. So, just what has to change for Ramirez as a catcher defensively to get back up in the majors, whether it's with the Marlins or a different organization? What has to improve specifically about him and his approach to the game to just simply get back up?
This might be a little bit of a controversial take at this point in time because,
Mhm,
again, I don't know what he's going to be doing in Jacksonville. Like, I don't know
mhm,
what the organization's plan is for him, but I would be surprised if the Marlins think he's going to be a catcher moving forward. Because when Joe
mhm,
Mack comes up, he's not going to go back down to work on defense. Liam Hicks is the best offensive catcher in baseball to start the season. You have
mhm,
two really good options there. And then your third option, Agustin Ramirez, he's so bad defensively, it just seems like insanity to try
mhm,
to make him something that he's clearly not cut out for. I know he
mhm,
worked hard in the offseason and you respect it, but it's a business. Baseball's a business. And Augustin's value ultimately comes down to his bat. And the issue, Anthony, his bat hasn't been good this year.
yeah,
So when you
mhm,
when you take that into account, you have the already bad defense, like really bad defense, and then you have the hitting, the offensive side of the equation, which has gotten worse. Then you're looking at somebody that is in a world of trouble, and you go through the numbers. I mean, last year I know he had over 500 plate appearances, but he hit over 20 home runs. This year he's hit just two. The numbers are down. The OPS
yeah,
is down. On base percentage, he just hasn't been good. And I mean, if you go by certain metrics like OPS plus, he's a below average hitter. And that's worrisome for a guy who you traded for, knowing that his defense was questionable, to say the least. You traded for him because you wanted that offensive ceiling. So, if anything in Jacksonville, I want to see him adjust and make adjustments offensively rather than defensively. I am curious to see where they play him. If it were up to me, first base, give him a first baseman and let him
mhm,
learn that position because the offensive production the Marlins have been getting at first base, apart from Connor Norby, but now Christopher Morel is up. I think that position is still in a state of flux. So it's going
mhm.
to be really interesting to watch where Augustine plays defensively as well as to see if he improves offensively.
I'm glad you mentioned this. Liam Hicks,
Yeah.
one of just on a hotter to start the season. A lot of improvements. He obviously showed more stability defensively as a catcher last season, but offensively was part of the issue. He's obviously fixed that this year, and he's still being stable defensively. Would you say, and then you kind of already kind of answered it, but I just want to make sure on this. Would you say because Liam is showing more stability as a two-way player, that it made the decision easier and more sooner than we probably thought? Okay, Ramirez is obviously not doing so well either side. It's time to cut our losses and call up Joe.
100%. I don't think this move, I don't think Augustine is optioned if Liam Hicks is, hitting 210 and everything comes crashing down. Because last year, I mean, he was solid. He was a pleasant surprise, but no one expected that production from him. And certainly nobody expected the level of production he's had this season. Um, he's gotten stronger. He's hitting the ball harder. The home runs are flying in bunches. I think he's up to 7 now with like 8 or 9 strikeouts on the season, something like that. It's crazy. His bat to ball skills are elite, and it's really not an understatement to say that this guy needs to be in the lineup every single day, whether that's behind the plate or first base or as the DH. And then when you have Joe Mack, who's ready and who's miles ahead of Agustin Ramirez defensively, then you have that 3 catcher conundrum. You're not going to send down Liam Hicks. You're not going to cut down his playing time just so you can continue throwing Agustin Ramirez behind the plate. No. So the organization said, hey, I mean, it's not a popular decision because Gus really was one of the fan favorites and supposed to be one of the building blocks of this team. And I still think he can be.
Mhm.
But, Peter Bendix, credit to him. It's not working out. You got to fix something. You got to work on something. Just go down to Jacksonville because Liam Hicks is fine. Or Liam Hicks is more than fine. He's elite. And then Joe Mack is elite defensively and has been ready since last year.
Yeah, I saw this tweet. I forgot who it was, so I'm sorry I can't give credit. But they mentioned how Peter Bendix, that it's really showing a new side of him because if he's willing to send down Agustin Ramirez, even though he still has great potential for a guy like Joe Mack, it's showing that, okay, they're taking this season as serious as they said they were. Of course, you made some significant free agent signings, which is a plus, but when you make this type of shift, which obviously costs you nothing, and if anything, more potential in the world, because again, Joe Mack is a much better catcher, then it just shows that they're taking this season more serious and they want to be one of those sneaky teams that makes the playoffs. And just for some context, here are Augustin Ramirez's numbers on the season. Not a lot to like on this graphic right here, Jeremiah. Obviously, and you're looking below on the catching side of things, just it's painful. It's painful to look
Yeah,
at.
it's brutal. There's no other way to put it. It's really disappointing because, again, this is a guy who expectations were kind of sky high for him offensively. Like, what is
Mhm.
Augustine going to do? How many home runs is he going to hit? And he looks terrible. Yeah, it's one of those things where you see guys take steps forward and then other guys take steps backward. And I guess that's baseball. That's
Right.
life. It's sports. But Xavier Edwards looks elite. Otto Lopez looks elite. Agustin Ramirez, your prized prospect who you got a couple years ago, he looks like just a backup player. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not good. But again, the organization is not going to give up on him. And what he does in AAA is really going to be intriguing to see. Just if there's any mechanical adjustments, approach adjustments, and then defensively, again, I'm convinced the organization has finally seen the light. I don't think he's going to catch for the Marlins, at least the same amount of time he's been catching to start the
Mhm.
year. But we'll see what happens.
I definitely like just thinking about it. It definitely feels like we saw more of Liam than we saw Augustine. Like, because it was obvious that Gus was more so the primary catcher option last year, and now it shifted towards Liam. So you could sense that there was a shift, but just not to this extent, probably. And just in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if we were to see a trade to be done involving Ramirez, just because make some more room for more prospects. We'll see what happens, but I just wouldn't be surprised because he's shown before what the potential is offensively. It's going to draw some organizations, and maybe they're fine with putting him in a full time DH.
I don't think they're gonna trade Ramirez because I don't think his value's there. Well, I mean,
Mhm,
remember the Marlins gave up Jazz Chisholm for Augustine, and Jazz still had 2 or 3 years left of control, and then subsequently put up a 30-30 year last year. So they invested a lot into Augustine Ramirez. So if they put him on the trade block, teams are gonna be like, well, you don't have any leverage.
mhm.
He's just been optioned to AAA. He's horrible defensively, and offensively, he's taken a step back. You're not going to get the value that you're looking for him. I think it's more likely that and this might sound crazy, but if you think about it, the Marlins would be more willing to trade Liam Hicks and sell high on Liam Hicks, given where he is, and they really didn't spend anything on him. And if Joe Mack's the catcher of the future, Liam Hicks profiles as what? Is catching a couple days a week, maybe playing first base, but he's only 5'9", so he's not like a long-term answer there defensively. Offensively, I love what he's doing, and I'm not saying I want to see the Marlins trade Liam Hicks. I just think it
Gotcha.
would be more likely for Hicks to be moved than Augustine at this point. It sounds weird, but I do
Yeah,
think that could be the case.
that feels like more two steps back if you move Liam at this point, just given everything he's done so far.
Oh, I
Obviously,
agree.
there's still more of a season to go, and things happen, slumps happen, but just the way he's been hitting the ball, more power, more speed on it, and again, he's providing you way more stability defensively. Like, oh, that would be an insane job to do. That would just
But
you
the
just keep
Marlins
hurting.
have proved that they will sell high on guys. I mean, look at Edward Cabrera, right?
Yeah,
Cabrera, they traded him and he had 2 more years of control.
yeah, Cabrera, but then again, that did get you Casey.
Yeah, but Casey's in a world of trouble right now too.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, he's just figuring things out. It's only his first year in the majors.
No, yeah, I mean there's still plenty of time, but I mean the thought to me always crosses my mind because you remember Lewis Brinson with the Marlins. You wanted him to be so good. I think as a fan that scarred me because him and Isan Diaz really were the first guys to warn me about the threat of prospects not panning out. And I am not saying that Owen Casey, we're hitting panic button, he's a bust. No, that's not what I'm
Mhm.
saying. I'm saying that prospects, when you trade for prospects, there's always a risk. And that's just how it is. Now, I think Casey has elite tools and he's going to be fine in the long run, but it's a slow start. There's a lot to work through, and that's just the name of the game. You have to be patient with these guys. And the Marlins were really patient with Agustin Ramirez, but there
Yeah.
does come a time when you have to you run out of patience and you have to say, look, something needs to change. Again, with
Mhm.
Owen Casey, plenty of time, but Edward Cabrera is pitching really good for the Cubs right now.
Yeah, I mean, we both kind of felt the same way to about Cabrera getting traded. Again, the package itself was a good answer, but you just saw the potential with Sandy and Eddie and then Yuri. So I get it. Trust me, I wanted to keep that triple threat, but I think when you trade for arguably the best minor league prospect at the time, I think you bank really high on that. And you are right. There is definitely a point in time where things have to be taken into consideration. It happens everywhere in the NBA as well, NFL. There's always a time limit on these prospects, but I think we're still at a fair share for Owen. So I think he'll still have some time there. Now, just for a guy like Joe, especially because he's being thrown into the fire against the Phillies tonight. And obviously, when you look at the batters right there, you look at just Bryce Harper, even like, how do you think he'll adjust to managing games? Because funny enough, a catcher is like the quarterback in the NFL. They control the game, they see everything. But ironically enough, catchers don't get enough praise as quarterbacks do. Uh, but for a guy like Joe, how do you think he'll adjust when managing games against major league teams, against even though they're off to a slow start, against supposed you know World Series contenders, just and even these kind of hot batters? Just how do you think he will adjust in now the significant talent he's going to be facing on a nightly basis?
Well, it makes it easier for him because the Marlins dugout calls the pitches. And that's something that's important to remember. He's not going to have to be calling the pitches and sequencing, set up sequences against certain hitters. He has to go back there and do his job. And then just, be the presence back there for your pitcher. Jansen Junk starting tonight. I think Junk's a very solid pitcher. And then he's got a backstop now where you don't have to worry about, throwing a slider in the dirt and it rolling to the backstop. Like
Mhm.
Max tools, they're elite. I mean, he's going to be a wall back there. He's going to have a cannon of an arm to throw out base runners. So if you're the Phillies, I don't suggest running against Joe Mack and trying to steal second. I mean, he's got an absolute hose back there. Um, but yeah, I think for Mac, it's just don't make the moment too big. Trust your skills. You're
Mhm.
already playing catcher. You're already playing the position at a major league level. Like you could have been playing catcher last year in the majors. That's how good you are. So just trust your skills. Don't make the moment too big. And then offensively, look, he has a ton of power, hits the ball really hard. The question has always been that hit tool. Is he going to make enough contact in the major leagues against better pitches, better stuff? And honestly, like, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine.
Mhm.
Even if he has a low batting average, his WAR is going to be good because of the power and the defense. And that's ultimately what it's all about. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what he provides, and hopefully he makes a couple highlight level plays defensively tonight for Marlins fans.
Yeah, I would just say for Joe, just worry about getting on base, just obviously make impactful plays, do the little things that matter. And obviously, AAA is the doorstep to the majors, and the Marlins have a ton of pitchers down there in Jacksonville that can make an impact right away, right now, if they were called up. Now, when Joe is set to catch, when with a guy like Yuri, with a guy like Sandy, just how do you think like he'll just be able to like catch up with the speed that those guys throw at?
I think that I really don't think he's gonna have a problem adjusting to
Mhm,
the stuff, the sliders, the fastballs, because the Marlins have guys in the minors right now who Joe is catching that have major league ready stuff, like Robbie Snelling, Braxton Garrett, obviously, who's a veteran. So yeah, I think with Mac, it's about building the repertoire and the relationship between the pitching staff, between those individual guys. So those pitchers feel comfortable when Mac is back there. And there's no reason that they shouldn't feel comfortable because he's
mhm,
so good defensively, but there is a bond between the catchers and the pitchers. I mean, Clayton Kershaw for years had AJ Ellis as his personal catcher. And Ellis wasn't really doing much of anything else, but he was going to catch Kershaw because Kersh wanted that guy behind the plate. It's just what he felt most comfortable. They knew each other. They knew what they wanted to throw and everything. So yeah, for Mac, it's just get in the clubhouse and build those relationships with the pitchers. And he's like the graphic shows right now from spring training. He's talked to Yuri before. He's talked to Sandy. He's caught them in spring training before. So it's not necessarily going to be a brand new thing from him. It's just going to be the level is different now. Now you're playing major league regular season games instead of major league spring training games.
yeah, this was a matter of just when, not if, for
Yeah.
a guy like Joe. And just real quick before we wrap this up, because we talked a little bit just about Owen and how he has some things to clean up, but Joe is arguably the most ready of a prospect. Just what would you say is the different trajectories between those two that makes Joe a bit more ready for this level compared to Owen?
Well, it's tough because Mac obviously hasn't debuted yet. Now, when he does, and we look at the defense, yeah, the defense is great. Owen Casey's defense is nothing spectacular. Casey's value depends on his bat for the most part.
Yeah.
For Mac, you take whatever you can get with the bat. Um, in terms of the hit tool, the whiff. Is he gonna manage his swing and miss? And I think he has a really good chance to do so with Casey. This is a guy who played a lot of AAA baseball and mashed in AAA. He had nothing left to prove. There was no point of starting him this season in AAA after spring training.
Mhm.
Now, he's striking out at a really, really high rate. Like one of those rates that is not sustainable for a major leaguer. I mean, it's in the first percentile. He's striking out 42.6% of the time, which if you look at that across a full season, like that no major leaguer can survive doing that. It's
Mhm.
too bad. I don't think it's going to be that high. There's things he has to work on, and I think the big thing for Casey right now is to make what those adjustments, before the games in the batting cages, because the Marlins could technically send him down, but he's not. I mean, who are you going to call up? I think it might be a good idea to reset for him mentally. But then
Mhm,
again, maybe, after the game, before the game, talk with the coaches. Something has to be mechanically adjusted. His approach has to be adjusted because the swing and miss was the biggest flaw in his prospect grade, in the
mhm,
scouting report. And it's being exposed at a just ridiculous level to start the season. So for Casey, it's about working through that in particular because the rest of the tools are really good. He's going to
mhm.
make great contact. It's just about hitting the ball. I mean, you could be the strongest guy in the world and hit the ball 600 feet, and it's not going to matter if you don't hit the ball consistently. So
Mm.
that's the big thing for Owen.
Would you say he's a bit of a chaser?
Yeah, yeah. For Casey, there's a lot of times where he'll go up there. I think I have the metrics right now. He chases 31% of the time, so slightly below average. So it's not as
Mhm,
bad as it could be. I mean, there's some guys that just swing at everything. So that's a positive, but you do need to see that go down just a little bit.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I mean, if, again, like you mentioned, if Augustine can get a lot of patience out of this organization, then I'm pretty sure Owen can get
Oh
at
yeah,
least
and remember,
a
it's
full
been 1
season.
month.
Exactly. And again, some of the pitchers he's facing, I mean, this is still a very hot stretch for the Marlins in terms of the opponents they're facing. They faced the Yankees not long ago. They faced the Dodgers and got the series, which is insane to say that they got that one. But again, there's gonna be a lot of ups and downs in this stretch. Again, they're facing a lot of elite opponents, but the rest of the way they're facing Baltimore next, then Washington, and then the Mets, who have been awful to start
They're
this season.
terrible.
Oh my, I mean, this is what I told you about before, Jeremiah. Like, when it comes to CBA talks and people are going to be like, oh, they're spending a lot of money. Yeah. And so are the Mets. They're spending a bunch of money and they're getting
Yeah.
nothing out of it. So there's a counter argument to the whole cap space thing. So that is just going to be insane to watch. We'll see how it goes. But Jeremiah, thank you for taking the time. And again, it's going to be an exciting night to watch Joe Mack in his debut. My name is Anthony Aguirre, Section 305. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, always check out Jeremiah, Fish on First, and we will see you next time.